Tire tech has always been kind of a big deal, ever since we figured out that rolling on rubber beats dragging flaming chariots across the ground. And every now and then, a concept pops up that really makes you stop and go, okay, that's different. One of those is called Volume, a shape-shifting tire concept that recently picked up an iF Design Award. And honestly, it feels like a glimpse into how we might be rolling around in the future. Yes, you heard that right. A shape-shifting tire. Volume is still very much a concept, and there aren't a ton of deep technical details floating around. But you don't really need a full engineering breakdown to see why this idea is so exciting. The whole point is simple and ambitious at the same time. Create a tire that can adapt to the terrain and conditions it's driving through. And interestingly enough, instead of ditching air like many modern concepts do, Volume actually leans into it. According to the iF Design Award description, Volume uses an internal pressure control system that adjusts itself to improve traction and stability. In plain terms, there's an internal chamber that inflates or deflates depending on what the vehicle needs, and some onboard brain manages that process. As that internal balloon changes size, the tire's tread pattern changes along with it, which is where things get really cool. When the tire is mostly deflated, the diamond-shaped tread pattern is tight, compact, and even recessed below the edge of the rim. In this state, it almost looks like the tire is riding on narrow ridges along the edges. But as the chamber inflates, those diamond shapes spread out, transforming the surface into something far more aggressive. Suddenly, you've got a tread better suited for loose soil, mud, and sketchy terrain, where you really want those knobs biting in. The tread can even rearrange itself into different layouts, including lattice-style patterns or neat rows of diamonds, depending on what the situation calls for. If you look closely at the concept images, you'll even spot the words multi-road tire printed along the inner rim, which pretty much sums it up. And while this may sound wildly futuristic, the idea itself isn't brand new, especially not for Kumho Tire, the company behind Volume. They've explored similar territory before, with another concept called the origami tire. That earlier concept also played with the idea of transformation, but instead of changing tread depth and shape, it expanded sideways. The idea there was a tire that could adjust its width to work on cars, ATVs, motorcycles, and even mopeds. That design also earned iF Design recognition and was presented as something meant for moon rovers, at least judging by how it was shown. Both concepts were developed with BKID Studio, a South Korean design house that's worked on everything from headphones and shoes to medical equipment and robots. If it exists, they've probably designed some version of it. So where does Volume actually make sense in the real world? Kumho and BKID show it under all sorts of vehicles, including highway cruisers and even food delivery trucks, which feels like a bit of a stretch. Personally, I see way more potential for vehicles that constantly deal with changing terrain. First responder vehicles come to mind immediately, along with overlanding rigs and construction equipment, assuming the tech could handle serious loads without those air chambers giving up the ghost. What's also interesting is that even when the chamber is deflated and the tread is recessed, Volume can still roll on its outer edges. Those edges seem to incorporate a structural framework similar to airless tire tech, meaning you'd still be able to move, at least slowly, without instantly being stranded. It's clearly not meant for high-speed antics in that state, unless we're ready for the next Fast and Furious movie to feature drifting food trucks. One last thing worth mentioning is that Volume isn't just a tire by itself. It's part of a complete system that includes a specially designed wheel with an integrated hub assembly. In theory, you'd slide the whole unit onto your axle and go, with some kind of locking mechanism keeping it all in place, even if the designers don't spell that part out. Will we see Volume on real cars anytime soon? Probably not. But concepts like this are meant to push boundaries, spark ideas, and get us thinking differently about everyday components we usually take for granted. And honestly, it doesn't hurt to dream a little about a future where your tires adapt to the world as easily as you do.